All right, let's talk about the Atlanta Falcons, who were big winners of the offseason last year and then had an underwhelming season, I would say, in 2024. But I actually think there are some bright spots that we can get into, things that you can look at and say, there is a way this team can improve. And I don't think it's crazy that they could win the NFC South next year. But let's talk about it. Let's talk about where they're currently at. What are the issues with this current roster construction, and how can they potentially improve? First, if you look at the PFF grades for each positional category, the really interesting one is that they were actually top 10 in passing last year, according to PFF, which actually kind of makes some sense because Kirk Cousins was very good for the first 10 games of the season. He then really had some rough stretches. Again, they started 6-3. Cousins really fell off kind of in that two-thirds part of the season to the point where he got benched for Michael Penix, who came in and played very well in his few games. So they only really had a 4 or 5 week stretch of bad quarterback play, maybe even not even that much. They also had some really good offensive stuff around the quarterbacks, with the 4th highest graded receiving unit, 8th pass blocking, 1st run blocking, and 1st rushing. So a lot of stuff to help out Michael Penix, who will be the starter, I'm assuming, this upcoming season. So that's the good. Of course, this team missed the playoffs. A big part of that was the pass rush, which was 30th graded in the NFL. Was not a very effective pass rush. Mediocre run defense, according to PFF. Still pretty good coverage unit, though, but it did not play great in terms of actually being able to stop offenses, which is what it needed to do last year, obviously. Their cap space situation is so interesting, though, because remember, they're paying Kirk Cousins a bunch of money. So even though they have a quarterback on a rookie deal, usually, you look at Washington and they have 80, 90 million. Okay, do we go get Myles Garrett? All that stuff. This is why I kind of hated both getting a quarterback on a rookie deal and signing Kirk Cousins, is because if the quarterback hits, you're wasting years of that valuable rookie deal. And even in 2026, as it stands right now, while they will have $82 million in cap space, they only have 23 players signed. So that's actually not a great situation either. They can maybe add some pieces, but that's not ideal when more than half your roster will be players that are going to be either getting re-signed or signing off the streets. That's gonna you're gonna run through that 82 million pretty quickly. Again, -11 in cap space this year. They're gonna have to find ways to make money work. You can cut guys or you can restructure, but the question as well is, how much do you want to continue to kick the can down the road when you have this quarterback who looked, I thought, really good as a rookie? You don't want to waste his rookie deal. There are some players they could move off of. Now, I'm not sure if these are any players you would want to cut outright. This is the amount of money you would save if you cut them outright. But are these players that you can trade? Could Kaleb McGary be a trade option? I don't know if I want to hurt my offensive line when I have a rookie quarterback, but maybe Grady Jarrett could be a trade option, or David Onyemata, clear up some cap space that way. Again, do you want to get worse on defense? I get it, but it might just be something you have to do given the cap situation. The other really interesting thing is Kirk Cousins, who, if you cut him, you would actually save -$25 million. So that's a double negative. So a better way to phrase it is $25 million would get added to the salary cap this year. But is there a way where that actually makes sense? Well, on paper, yes, because, okay, if you cut him and, you can now just kind of load up the contract right on this year, well, then you could be in a situation where you don't have any dead cap for next year, and that could be the year you really go for it. But remember, I mentioned they're already in negative cap space this year. So doing something like that, you still have to kick the can down the road to make it work, unless you're going to be cutting the guys above that I have, which still wouldn't quite be enough. So I think they might actually keep Kirk Cousins. I don't think that's crazy. Again, Cousins probably isn't going to like that, but at the end of the day, they gave you $100 million. Maybe you're not going to like it. It is what it is. Maybe they try and trade him, see if they can get someone to take on some of the contract, some of the guaranteed stuff. I doubt a team is going to take on any guaranteed money from Kirk Cousins, so you're probably not going to get that, but something you could at least shop around. It's an interesting decision there. The good news is, for their upcoming free agents, they don't have a ton. Drew Dalman is the one that it would hurt to lose. He's a good center, but you can replace that in the draft. There are usually good centers that fall out of the first round, so you can make that work if you have to. That is tough, though. You don't want to lose them. The other guys, Justin Simmons, Matthew Judon, and Mike Hughes, all players that, again, Judon's weird. They traded for him. It didn't really work out. I think they're going to let him go. Justin Simmons, I don't think was horrible, but I think they could let him go and be okay. Mike Hughes, I think they would like to keep him, but again, if he has to be a cap casualty, then so be it. But then the numbers you see below me are infuriating. These are the draft picks they have. They have a first, a second, a fourth, and then 2 sevenths. They've gotten rid of several of these draft picks. Now, it's worth mentioning they were the 5th round pick. That was taken away from them due to tampering for the Kirk Cousins deal, which in hindsight, hurts them even more that they tampered for a deal that also didn't work out for them. But the 3rd round pick, they traded for Matthew Judon, which is just one of those in hindsight, what were we thinking moves. And at the time, no one really criticized them too much. But this is why, when teams trade away like a 3rd round pick and everyone kind of says like, oh, who cares about a 3rd round pick? Like, we're good. You now look at this, and they're going to have 3 picks in the top 200. It's hard to build a championship roster when you're doing stuff like that. It can put you over the edge. The Rams did that, where they would trade quality draft picks to put them over the edge, but they also constantly were trading back, getting a lot of draft picks. You do get 2 sevenths, but like that's not they're not in a great spot. Usually smart organizations have a ton of draft picks in that 3, 4, and 5 range. They only have 1 in that range. And again, one was taken from them. That's not it's kind of their fault, but you know what I mean. That wasn't a strategic decision that they made. But that's kind of where I'm at with the Atlanta Falcons is I think they've made some bad decisions in recent history. I do. I think stacking the Kirk Cousins contract and the Michael Penix draft pick on each other was a bad decision. And now they're paying the price by having to work around the Cousins contract for the next 2 years, really. That was a mistake. I think that trading for Matthew Judon was a mistake. But you know what? Every organization makes mistakes. The Chiefs gave up a 1st and a 2nd round pick for Frank Clark, who wasn't great for them, but they still won a Super Bowl. I believe they won 2 Super Bowls with Frank Clark by making other smart decisions. So you can overcome those not great decisions. But one way you overcome those not great decisions is by being unafraid to move off of a move that didn't work. Sometimes things don't work. You got to be okay with saying, okay, this is the situation we're at now. With all of this mistakes that have been made, they still have a lot of really good offensive talent. They have a young quarterback who looked really good. The Giants would love to be in your shoes, right? There's a lot of teams that would love to be where you're at right now, but they have to just start making better decisions. And for one thing, you can't be giving away a 3rd round pick. Well, that's gonna be around 100. That's not a pick you can be giving away for a veteran player. That's not gonna put you over the hump. I mean, sure, again, if Judon hit, that might have been enough for them to make the playoffs. But still, is that worth it in this spot? Total hindsight being 2020, because we all thought that at the time, oh sure, why not? But yeah, that's where Atlanta is currently at. That's kind of the issues that they have. But the good news is, again, there's a lot of good things about this team and this organization. They just have to stop making these mistakes. And I really feel like they're a good offseason away from being a playoff team that can even win a game or 2. Like, I think that they're that close, but they need to make sure they can get that done. So, yeah, those are my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from y'all. And, of course, as always, thanks for watching.